How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to an episode here on Let's Build Twitter. As always, I'm Ethan, an encoder. If you guys do want access to a power repository, there is a link in the description down below. With that being said, let's go and hop into what we're working on today and a couple other announcements. So first off, hopefully everything sounds okay, looks okay, all of that stuff. I made some changes to OBS because I'm trying to go ahead and set up the ability to stream. So did not mess with a few things, and I want to go ahead and multi-stream on Twitch and YouTube. So then I had to set up a couple of plugins and stuff. So long story short, just a bunch of stuff changed in my recording setup. So fingers crossed everything looks okay, everything sounds okay, everything like that. I had to tweak some settings and stuff because it wasn't recording properly. So that's that. The other things, I don't really know how much we're going to get done in each one of these episodes. I have a really long list of things to do because this started out as just being able to go ahead and get our images sent on a post that have been edited. But I found that the easiest way to go ahead and do that is going to be actually refactor the entire post slice and refactor how we're actually sending posts to the back end. So before we actually even get to cropping and sending images and everything, we're going to be completely redoing our images and doing all of that stuff. So with that being said, let's go and hop into the code. Like I mentioned, I don't know how much we're going to get done. I'm just going to go ahead and try to base it on time and whatnot. So whenever I get to a specific time point here in the morning, I'm going to go ahead and call it quits to wrap up the episode. So with that being said, let's go and hop into code and get to work here. So today we're going to go ahead and start out inside of our global interfaces, and we're going to go ahead and set up a new type inside of our global interfaces. So I'm going to come down to close to where our post is. So it's down here. So I'm going to go ahead and go above our post, and we're going to go ahead and say export type, and we're going to go ahead and make a reply restrictions type. And this is going to equal to, and we're going to have everyone, or it's going to go ahead and be follow, or it'll go ahead and be circle, or it'll go ahead and be mention. Now we're going to go ahead and take that reply restrictions, and we're going to go ahead and throw it in here. So instead of this, we're going to have reply restrictions, and this is because we're going to be using this other places, and I'm tired of typing it out. And let's also make sure we spell restrictions properly. So restrictions, there we go. Go ahead and throw reply restrictions in here. So right here, reply. And let me make sure I didn't just delete something on accident. Okay, it's not going to let me, so that's cool. So I don't think I did, but reply restrictions like so. So there is our post now. So now let's go and hop into our Explorer here. And inside of our Redux slices, we're going to go ahead and make a new slice. We can call this PostSlice v2. And .ts, there's two ways for me to kind of go about this. We could have either created a PostSlice v2 and then kind of set everything up and fix things as we go, or could have deleted PostSlice v1 and rewrite everything inside of it, and then everything would be broken at once. So I didn't really want everything to be broken at once. I wanted the app still be functional at the end of each episode. So that's why I'm going PostSlice v2. Go and hop in here. So we're just going to go ahead and set up like the basics, and then as we get going here, we're going to add more to it. So we're going to go ahead and start out with an interface. Interface, and this is going to go ahead and be our post slice v2 and state. So this is more or less going to be kind of like a DTO, other than we're going to have some loading and stuff. So loading will be a boolean. We'll have our error, which will be a boolean. We'll have active, which is a boolean, and then we'll get into our content string. Content string. We'll have our author, like a type, which will be a user, and let's go ahead and import that, or undefined. We'll go ahead and have our scheduled, which is be a date, or undefined, and then we'll have our scheduled date, which is a boolean. And then I kind of did that in the wrong order, but it's fine. We'll have an audience. So audience is going to go ahead and be everyone, or circle. And really, we probably don't need audience because I think that we got rid of it completely, but I think the backend still uses it, so we'll keep it for now. Have our reply restrictions, and this will go ahead and be our reply restrictions, so we just created. And then images will be a post image array, and then we'll have a GIF now to kind of separate those. That'll be a post image or undefined, and we will have a poll, which will be a poll. Let's go and import that, or undefined. And then finally we'll have is reply, which is a Boolean, and then we'll have reply to, which will be a number. This is going to be basically everything we need to track how we're creating the post and like if it's loading and whatnot, and then everything we actually need on the post itself. Next up, we're going to go ahead and make an interface, and this is going to be called initialize and new post. I called it action. I could have called this payload, whatever. I'm actually going to call this payload just to change it up a little bit, because I think the rest of these, as I got going, I started calling them payloads. So we're going to go ahead and set up our author, which is a user. Whoops. User. We'll go ahead and see if it's a reply. This will be a Boolean. And then if it is a reply, we're going to have a reply to. So this will be question mark. And I could have just made this like a negative number or a 0 or something, but we'll just go ahead and make it optional so I don't have to pass it every time. So now let's go ahead and set up our initial state. So we'll have const initial state is going to be a PostSlice v2 state equal to, and loading will obviously start out as false, and our error will start out as false as well. And then we'll have active, which is false, so we're not creating it to start out. Our content will be an empty string, and then we will have author, author as undefined, and we will have scheduled as false. We'll have scheduled date as undefined, and we will have audience as everyone. Hopefully I don't miss anything here. I guess so, yell at me if I do. And then after our audience, we'll have reply restriction will be everyone as well. And then we will have images as an empty array. We'll have our GIF as undefined. We could have even null here, but it is what it is. Poll as undefined. And then finally is reply will start out as false, and our reply to will start out as -1, and we'll just check to see if it's greater than 0. And I messed something up with scheduled. So scheduled should be a Boolean. Let me fix this. So this should be a Boolean. I did these backwards. Boolean, and then this one should be a date or undefined. Just go ahead and fix that. Date or undefined. Okay, so that fixes that. Now we can go ahead and set up our slice here. So export const and PostSlice, v2, and here this will be equal to CreatePostTextArea. Let's go and import that, and then let's set this up. Like I said, we're going to start it very simple, and we're going to add to it. So name will be post v2. We're going to go ahead and have our initial state, and then we'll have our reducers. For now, we're just going to have like 1 or 2 reducers. I think I'm going to start a 1, just initializing state. So initialize, and this is going to be new post, and this will be state, comma, action, and this will be a payload, payload action. If I could type, that'd be cool. And inside here, we'll have initialize new post payload. We'll go ahead and set up our function here. All we're going to do is return, return state. And we're going to go ahead and set up active to true. We're going to go ahead and set up our author. Maybe author will be action.payload.author. Then we'll go ahead and have is reply is equal to action.payload.isReply. And then finally, we'll go ahead and say reply to colon is action.payload.reply to, maybe payload reply to question mark. If that's the case, action.payload.reply to. Otherwise, we'll just set up -1. We could have just ignored that part, but it is what it is. Now let's finally go ahead and export. So export const our initialize new post equal to PostSlice v2.actions. And we'll also go ahead and export default, and then this will be PostSlice v2. If I could type, that'd be cool. v2.reducer. That is our slice setup for now. We're going to go ahead and use that initialize post and everything in a second, but first let's hop into our store and get this imported. So below our edit media, we'll go ahead and import, and we'll go ahead and say PostSlice v2 reducer from, if I could type, /slices/PostSlice v2, and let's go ahead and bring it in below edit media so we can use it. So here we'll go ahead and say PostSlice and v2. And I guess I shouldn't have called it reducer, but no, it's fine actually. And okay, there we go. It's fine. It's being dumb. Okay, let me go ahead and try this again. PostSlice v2 colon PostSlice v2 reducer. That should be fine. And now we can go ahead and do the scary and fun part and start actually refactoring a bunch of stuff that needs to be refactored. Now, I'm terrified about refactoring this because there's a lot of changes in a lot of places, and it's hard to keep track of exactly where each change needs to be whenever I'm going through and editing and setting up these episodes. So bear with me here. So let's go ahead and hop into our FeedPostCreator where we're going to start out here. First thing I'm going to go ahead and do in FeedPostCreator is I'm just going to go ahead and clean up all this mess that we don't need. So there's a lot of stuff that we don't need in here. We'll end up using some of this stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and I think keep at least use effect. We'll get rid of the other stuff. And then here we can also get rid of a bunch of stuff like create poll. And really we're gonna be able to get rid of all of this eventually. However, I'm not gonna go ahead and get rid of all of it. Actually, yeah, we can get rid of all of this. Let's just go ahead and get rid of that and all of this and all that, and it's going to be mad at us for a second. That's completely fine. We're going to ignore it. So first thing we need to go ahead and do is I think we did end up needing use state. We'll pull it in whenever we need it. So first let's go ahead and change this const state and break it into a couple different things here. So first we're going to go ahead and say const and logged in and token is equal to use selector, and then here we're going to have state root state root state, and we're going to go ahead and bring in state.user, and we're also going to go ahead and say const create post DTO is equal to use selector, and then here we'll have state root state, and then here we'll have state dot PostSlice v2, and I wanted this to be called post v2, so let me go ahead and rename that in the store. So this should just be post v2, not PostSlice v2. Here we go. Let's save that, hop back in there. Now we can go ahead and say post v2. That looks a lot better. We'll still keep display emojis and all that. And then now we're going to go ahead and set up a couple pieces of state. So const, and this is going to be the button class, and set button class. We're going to clean this up a little bit, is equal to use state. This will be a string. String maybe. And inside here we're going to start out as feed dash post dash creator dash post dash button. Okay, we'll also have a const, and this one will be, if I could type, button disabled, and set button disabled equal to use state of a boolean, and inside here we'll go ahead and start out as false, and maybe we should start that out as true. We'll see, but that's going to clean that up. We're going to go ahead and remove this code from activate. So let's go ahead and delete this. And inside here, we're just going to go ahead and check if we have a logged in, if logged in. I don't know why we're checking for not create post.author, but it is what it is. Create post DTO.author. Probably didn't need that check, but whatever. We're going to go ahead and dispatch, probably because you don't want to click on it twice, I guess. Initialize new post. We want to make sure that this is going to come from v2. It does. And then let's go ahead and open this guy up. So here we'll have author as logged in, and then is reply is going to be false, so then we don't need to actually pass in reply to. We're going to go into our submit post, and this is going to get completely refactored. So we're going to go ahead and remove this, and for now we're just going to go ahead and say console.log, and then here we'll go ahead and just console.log the post DTO. That's fine. And then now we need to go ahead and do a couple things. So I believe that we get rid of this generate button class as well as the activate button. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. And again, this a lot of broken stuff here, but we'll fix it. So first we're going to go ahead and say const update button is equal to, and we can go ahead and simplify the logic behind the button. So const post has content is going to be equal to, and here we're going to say create post DTO dot content is not equal to an empty string, and then and then it's going to be create post DTO dot images dot length is greater than 0. So if we have images, or our create post DTO dot gif GIF is not equal to undefined. So if we have a GIF, we have images, or we have content basically, or create post DTO, and then finally dot poll is not equal to undefined. Then we have content. So that's going to be that. So now we're going to go ahead and say set button class, and this is going to equal to post as content question mark. So if post has content, be feed dash post and dash creator, maybe dash post dash button, and then post dash active. And then otherwise, if that's not the case, it'll just be feed dash post creator, and then dash post dash button, like so. And then we also want to go ahead and say set button disabled, and this is going to be not post has content. So if the post has content, we don't want disabled if it doesn't have content, vice versa. Finally, we'll go ahead and say const, and I thought that we still had this on here, but I guess not. Open schedule modal. I guess we didn't need to delete this or something, but this will be e react.mouse event on an HTML. And this is, I'm assuming, a div element. Yes, it is div element. Go ahead and set this up. So e.stop propagation. And then here we'll just go ahead and dispatch and update display schedule. Like so. I think that we accidentally deleted that when we didn't need to. And let's see, const open schedule. I forgot to go ahead and close this. There we go. So now here is the fun part. Well, actually, I got you guys excited. We need to set up our use effect. And I don't know if we actually even need this in here. I don't know how this got brought in, so I might have typoed that. We might end up deleting that, or it was left over and it was never needed in the first place. But we're going to go ahead and watch our create post DTO dot content. We're going to watch our create post DTO dot images. We're going to watch our create post DTO dot GIF. We're going to watch our create post DTO dot poll. And then in here, we're going to go ahead and say update button. So anytime something changes, we'll go ahead and try to update the button. All right, so now we are actually ready to start doing the fun part, which is fixing everything and trying not to have everything broken. So let's go ahead and start out here. So now instead of having a link, let's go ahead and get rid of this guy. We have a profile picture now that we can go and use. We are still going to have a div with a class name. It's going to be equal to, and here this will be feed post creator dash, and this is going to be PFP dash margin. That's just because we need a little bit of margin on this guy. We can go ahead and check if we're logged in, and then here our profile picture, and here user will equal to logged in, and then also we'll have size equal to 40. Here we probably, what we should have done is let it pass in an undefined user and then just automatically displayed the default PFP, but it is what it is. And then here, now instead of feed post audience dropdown, I believe we're going to go ahead and get rid of this. Twitter no longer uses this, so this work is unfortunately going to go away. So that's fine. And then here under our state to show our feed post creator images, let's go ahead and clear this out. This is why things are probably going to get a little bit funky. But here, what we're going to go ahead and do is say create post DTO images length is greater than 0, or, and then we're going to go ahead and have create post DTO and then GIF is not equal to undefined. So if we have images or the GIF, we'll go ahead and display that. Next, we'll go ahead and do poll. So now obviously, instead of all of this stuff, we can just check to see if there's a poll on this. So we can go ahead and say create post DTO poll, and then so that cleans that up a lot. Now this one is just going to be checking for active. So here we can go ahead and say create post DTO active, which we already set. And then again, we're going to go ahead and check if active inside of this class name. So create post DTO active, how we actually clicked on it. So we're simplifying things quite a bit here. Let's go ahead and scroll down. So this is fine. Now our next part here is if this or this. So here, all we're going to go ahead and do is just check to see if we have content. So create post DTO dot, and then content not equal to an empty string. So that one was easy enough to fix. Now %. This one is a little bit fun. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's delete this. We're going to go ahead and say create post DTO dot content question mark. If we have content, then we'll go ahead and do the same thing. So not too bad. So once again, we'll say create post DTO dot content dot length divided by 250. Or we'll do 0. Okay, and then now finally we can do our class name and whatnot here. So here we'll go ahead and have our button class. So buttn, whoops, not nothing, button class, like so. And then here we'll go ahead and say button disabled. So button disabled, like so. And then finally, if we have display emojis true and our create post DTO dot active is true, then we'll go ahead and show the emoji drop down. Now this should be rendering and everything. Now the thing is, we aren't going to be able to actually create a post or anything. I don't know why open schedule modal got brought in here. I don't know if this is old code that was in here previously. Let me just go ahead and check GitHub really quick to see what's going on with that. Also want to see if I'm dropping frames or anything. Doesn't look like I'm dropping frames. Let's go ahead and check GitHub really quick. So it doesn't look like it was here before. I don't know why this is here. I don't think we need it, but I'm not going to delete it until we're done working on everything. So we still have time to continue working here. So let's at least open up the app and make sure everything is not just straight up broken. Actually, before we do that, let's hop into the style and add the margin so it doesn't look funky. So we're just going to go ahead and come down here, and I'm going to go ahead and instead of having this and it's margin 11 and everything, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this really quick and rename this. And this is going to be FeedPostCreator PFP -margin, like so. Now let's hop into the app and just make sure everything looks okay. So now everything primarily looks the same. Let's wait for it to reload. It's to be able to click on this, except we might have to do a little bit of work. Oh, I broke it apparently. I don't know what's going on. Still need a little bit of work done here. So clicking on this isn't activating for some reason, but it might be because I'm not actually, oh, there it goes, just being slow for some reason. It might be my recording software, but there we go. That's fine. We should still be able to type in it and whatnot. Maybe it's because we're not updating the correct content anymore, but we'll go ahead and work on this next and then see where we get. So now let's go and hop back into our code. We want to go ahead and hop into our PostSlice v2 once again, and let's go ahead and set up a new interface. So this is going to be interface, and here we're going to go ahead and call this update post, and this is going to be state payload. And here we're going to go ahead and have our property, and this will be a string. And then we're going to go ahead and have our value, and this can be fun. This could either be a string or a user, or it could be a Boolean, or it could be a date, or it could be a string array. I don't know that it can be a string array anymore. I think this is from our images. So I think we can get rid of string array, but we need post image array. It could be a regular post image. It could be a poll. It could be a number. Whoops. It could be a number. Or it could be undefined. Hopefully I got everything. And now let's go ahead and set up a new reducer for updating the post state. So down here below our initialize, we'll go ahead and have an update post state, take in the state and the action, which is a payload action of this one would be update post state payload. There we go. And then here we're just going to go ahead and return our dot state. And then here we'll go ahead and do action, action dot payload dot property colon, and then action dot payload dot value. So now we don't have to make 900 different ones for updating specific things. And here we'll go ahead and say update post state, go and export that, and that's good to go. So now we want to go ahead and fix up that create post text area. So let's hop into there. There's a lot of stuff going down in this one, but we're going to go ahead and delete this update current post, and that's going to break some things, but it's fine. So now what we want to go ahead and do is here, instead of just doing the state, this is going to be const and create maybe post DTO, and this is going to be equal to state dot post v2. And now there's going to be some broken stuff. So basically what we want to go ahead and do is we can delete all of this location stuff here. So let's go ahead and delete all of this like so. And then here we can go ahead and just dispatch, and this will go ahead and be update post state like so. And then here we're going to go ahead and say the property is going to be content, maybe content, and then the value, like a type value, is going to be e.target.value, and that's fixed. And then now here, this one is going to be feed post or create post DTO, create post DTO, and creator, and then content will be create post DTO. And honestly, I think we can get rid of these if statements. So here we don't care about if it's a reply or, well, do we care if it's a reply? I don't think so. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of this. And this is going to go ahead and say dispatch. And then this will go ahead and be update post state. And then in here, we'll go ahead and have property is content. And then our value will be e.target.value like so. And actually that's wrong. This one needed to be create post content, create post content, or create post DTO, like a type dot content. Getting mixed up with my lines here. Okay, that's fine. And then again here, we don't care if it's in post or reply, so let's go ahead and delete this. So here we'll go ahead and say we forgot to also return here, so return is going to be convert post content to elements, and hopefully I did this right. Create post DTO dot content, and this will be in creator, and that might be wrong. And then content will be create post DTO dot content. And then now once again we'll go down to select dimension, and this one is going to be dispatch, and we'll find out pretty quickly if I broke everything. Update post state, and inside update post state we'll go ahead and have property, and once again this will be content, and then the content will be value, will be content dot, and then it's sub string of 0 comma content dot last index of, and then we'll do the @ symbol, and then +1 plus username, and then plus an empty string. So that's what we had before. We just kind of moved it over, and now we can go ahead and come down here and around line 89. Again, this is probably not 89. We got some things broken, but it's fine. But now instead of saying a state.post.current reply, whatever, it's going to go ahead and say create post DTO .active question mark, and we'll go ahead and update that. And then now we need to go ahead and update styles a little bit. So let's hop into the create post text area style, and then now we want to go to about line 22. So come down here, and now it's going to go ahead and add a margin on this guy. So I'm just going to go ahead and add it here. We're going to have a margin dash top on it about 15 px. We're going to have a margin of bottom on this about 10 px, and that should hopefully, fingers crossed, make it so that we can actually type back in there again. So let's go and hop in and take a look, and it's broken. Let's see what's broken. I came in, click on it, let's refresh. I came and open up our console here. Seems like we have some sort of infinite loop here because it's just trying to crash every single time, but it doesn't show any errors inside the console, and I can't get it to refresh, so I'm not sure what's going on here. I don't know what would have broke it. I'm gonna go ahead and double check all of the code real quick. We definitely messed something up here. This is inside of, let's see where it's at, CreatePostTextArea. Maximum update depth exceeded. This can happen when a component calls set state inside of a use effect, but use effect either doesn't have dependency array. So let's just double check this. There's not a use effect in there, and our use effect inside of FeedPostCreator definitely does, but it's inside CreatePostTextArea somewhere. Oh, we do have a use effect. Let's see here. And it's not even doing anything anyway, so let's go ahead and get rid of this. I don't see where our use effect will be breaking anything. So here we're doing our auto grow. Here we're doing our text content. Let's see here. Set mention, display, okay, and dispatch post mention. And then here we're updating post state to e.target.value. I wonder if, yes, there is. So I bet this is it. I bet this is supposed to be content or something. Let me double check this line right here. So I think that it might be this guy, and I'm guessing it's supposed to be like content, but I'm not 100% sure because it can't be e.target.value and we're taking in content, or we just don't need the dispatch here. I'm not sure. We might be able to get rid of this. Honestly, I don't know why this is here. So I'm going to try to get rid of that and see if our infinite loop stops and just make sure everything still works. That was definitely it. Now can we type? We click on it, it starts. Hello, we are typing. It seems like the bug is fixed. I don't know if we actually end up needing that there or not, but I want to go ahead and at some point refactor this because there's some wonkiness sometimes. But I think that's going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. It lasted way longer than I wanted, unfortunately. But sometimes whenever you're doing stuff like this, you got to debug. You don't quite put everything in the right spot, whatever. But anyway, y'all, if you did enjoy, please like, comment, and subscribe. Everything helps out here with the YouTube algorithm. If you do want to see where we started from absolute scratch to get to the point we are now, there should be like over here somewhere, a card that has the playlist for this entire series. With that being said, y'all, bear with me as we get through all this refactoring. This has been Ethan, or Uncoder, and I'll see you all in the next video.